I'm sitting, I don't want to stand up. Is that okay? All right, thank you for the introduction. Again, I'm going to talk quickly about the House Bill 45 program, Support Work Independence. Kyle is my counterpart, and on top of all the other things that he does with VR. So I happily tend to make the copies and kind of get stuff ready, because the fact that he's here sometimes is a miracle in my mind because of how busy he is. I decided not to put the PowerPoint up, so if you could just have all of the slides that I'm going to talk about in your packet. And while you're opening your packet, you have several handouts that you can refer to later. You've got the PowerPoint, and then you've also got the flyer, the little colorful flyer. That's something that we are distributing to potential participants. So they're getting sent that letter. I'm going to agency fairs and using this flyer. So it's kind of a real quick introduction to what the program is. You then have a copy of all of the paperwork we use for the project. You also have a copy of the tax credit that's specific to DSPD clients. And then you also have a quick intake and eligibility checklist kind of a thing. And that's a real quick eligibility kind of reference sheet for people for DSPD. So if you have clients that you think might be eligible, this could give you kind of a reference to see in terms of their eligibility or diagnosis. Feel free to copy it, feel free to use it, and we'll kind of talk about how you can check if somebody's on the DSPD waiting list a little bit later. So if you have any questions about the stuff in your packet, let me know. Really, the objective of this program is overall to develop collaborative working relationships. And I think in a lot of ways we've done that. I probably instant message Fernando on a daily basis for one reason or another. And he's always really quick to respond, or Laura, whomever. And so hopefully you understanding more about this program too, we can have even more collaboration. And the other goal is to really provide seamless support for supported employment. So having that transition perfectly from Voc Rehab to DSPD without any interruption in that person's support needs. We also want to talk about just the different roles that people have in this program. That includes the community service brokers. My role as the program administrator, you guys know your role as counselors, and then the supported employment provider. So those last two we're going to quickly touch on because you know your roles really well. I just am hoping that you'll have a great understanding of what the service brokers are doing, why they're calling and bugging you, sometimes why they might demand information that isn't necessarily appropriate. That's happened. So just to give you kind of an awareness about what's going on with the program. We have a couple layers, as all committees and things do. We have an executive management team, which consists of representatives from Voc Rehab and DSPD, as well as stakeholders. So we have some provider representatives, we have Legislative Coalition for People with Disabilities. It's a pretty big group that gets together and we kind of talk about what's going on with the program, numbers, challenges, solutions, things like that. So here's a list of everybody that's on that team, the executive management team. And then additionally, we have our data people. So Stacy Cummings for VR, and Tyler Black is our data guy with DSPD. And then Jolene Weiler with the benefits planning program, as you guys all know is so important, is also on this committee. So she kind of brings issues around and around benefits planning. We've done some data matches with her. For people who are in the project to see if they've had benefits planning, that sort of a thing. So we're really trying to make sure we cover all of the facets that would affect a person's life. I then have the list of the committee members. So Fernando represents your area here in the South Valley District, and so then you can see who are the other district representatives. So I won't really touch on that one. And have you guys heard about House Bill 45? Before? Has anybody? I know several of you have been involved in it in the past. We had originally it was House Bill 31 when it was a pilot project, and that was in 2006, and then in 2008 it became a long-term program with a 5-year sunset, and that was named House Bill 45. And then we came up with the SWE or SWI. I don't like to call it SWE. but the SWI program, Support Work Independence. So that's typically what I'll kind of refer to it as both as House Bill 45/SWI or the other way around. So that was in 2008. Sadly, in 2009, DSPD lost all of their general state funding for all programs because of legislative cuts. And so we discontinued that in like December of 2009, actually. And so we had all these people, I think we had like 130 people that were employed, we were supporting, and we had to drop the funding. It was horrible, really, really horrible. In 2011, so I guess in the session of 2010, but for fiscal year 2011, Representative Manlove managed to get $150,000 of one-time money in the DSPD budget. And so that was this last year. And I think it was kind of tough. People, got attached to that one-time money, knowing what happened before. And, just kind of how much it takes to get a program going again. So I think we finished the year with about 70 participation agreements. The goal was being 100. Not all of those people were employed, obviously. But I think inside of all of those things, we did okay last year. So now, with this new year, 2012, she added an additional $100,000. So we have $250,000 total to fund more people on the waiting list. And then she wrote the Employment First Priority Bill to actually protect the House Bill 45 money. So she wrote a bill to protect money for a bill. Does that make sense? And it's actually much more than that, but so the money is protected, so we know that it's going to be long term. And so I think I'm already getting lots of calls, and people are kind of catching on that, oh, this is something that I want to participate in. So that's really, really exciting. And what this means for you as VR counselors is you get to spend your supported employment budget. I don't know specifically what that title money is called.
It's our revenue 71.
Okay. And Dawn, and originally that was the real focus of this project, was to be able for VR to spend this money, because I guess historically we spent a lot turning money back, and so now it's kind of one of those situations where we want you to spend it, right? And I'm like the only person in DSPD that has money that we want to spend too, so it's kind of a little miracle situation going on, I think. So what we've done this year is, last year we kind of had people in the regions overseeing the program. It just wasn't working. We've taken huge cuts within staff at DSPD. And so it's now all centralized, and I do all of it. I do the referrals, I send out the letters, I'm managing all of the stuff. So if you have any questions, it comes through me. All the paperwork's coming to me. I know that sounds, arrogant maybe isn't the right word. It makes me kind of anxious every time I say it, but capacity-wise, it was really the only choice that we had. So what we have done is we use the community service brokers, and that's a service that we pay for, DSPD pays for, out of this House Bill money to provide some case management in addition to going out, meeting with the person, explaining the program, getting the paperwork back to me so then I can then let VR counselors know that this person's participating. So they're kind of serving as a bigger role now, which is maybe why some of you have been getting some odd calls and you're not sure why they want all this information. It's because I am needing them to do some of that stuff for me so that I can administer the program statewide. So with that $250,000, the average is still around $1,500 per person, and that includes the community service broker piece. So probably that's going to go up a little bit, but we're just basing it on a case-by-case basis. We've spent a lot more on some folks, we've spent less on some folks. It really just depends. And that's the beauty of this program, is that we have some flexibility with that within reason. Obviously, if somebody is never going to be able to achieve a level of independence, we'll need to look at whether they're appropriate for this program or not, just because of the limited amount of funds. But we do have some flexibility within that. So the role of the implementation team, so Fernando and his counterparts in the other offices, is to coordinate with management, with supervisors, be a technical assistance resource. So if you have questions about the case, or what do you do with that Form 58? Does it have to be green or not? That question came up a while ago. It does not have to be green. P.S.
I missed the celery green.
I know. Again, that was a budget cut thing. It was like, really? We have to buy that special paper? And anyway, so the form does not have to be green. And so he's really here just to help you answer questions and be a resource. I've had him be a resource if somebody is being referred to the program and they haven't been to Voc Rehab yet. I'll kind of list his information as the contact person so he can kind of help them navigate through the best way, that kind of a thing. So, and then I kind of listed the things that I'm responsible for as the program administrator. I'm sending letters to participants on a quarterly basis. Hopefully, we are going to be doing data matches. So looking at VR caseloads and DSPD waiting lists and matching those and making sure we're reaching people. Because you don't always know if somebody's on the waiting list. When people are on that waiting list, they're not typically saying, hey, I'm on the DSPD waiting list, because it doesn't mean a lot to them. They just know they're sitting there. So it's a way for us to identify people who may not be aware of the program. And so we're going to be doing another one of those soon. And so I send those letters out as soon as we get that information back. They send it back to me saying whether they want to participate or not, and then a referral is generated. And then as soon as I get back that participation paperwork, I then send you, the counselor, a Form 58. So that lets you know this person's going to participate. They've committed, they've signed the agreement, that sort of a thing. I've been sending all of the paperwork with that Form 58, so you have their agreement and all that kind of stuff.